And let's go. I'm going to screen share and I'm going to come out of that screen share. What have I done here? Okay, so let's get going, guys. So what I want to look at is the next part of the Gemara. So we spoke about Midin Arev. We spoke about Midin Eveknani. We spoke about Midin Shnehem. Okay? And now we hear that the Gemara is now going to speak about something a little bit different. And this was where Sobel, you got quite excited about this whole idea of Tavla of Tandu, but let's try to understand it a little bit more. Okay. So the Gemara. Say again?
Made my shvua, says yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So says the Gemara, yeah. Where am I here? Sorry, I'm not. Nafshe, sorry, Aref, Nafshe, Nafshe by Rob. Yeah, here we go. By Rob. You got it? By Rob.
Are you sharing the screen, Rob?
Oh, sorry, I thought I was. Sorry, I'll share the screen now. Okay, by Rob. So Robert. So by the way, I looked. I don't normally look, but I just saw on Sfaria. So Faria, if you click on the name of the Tana or the Amoira, then it brings up like a whole history about that Tana or the Amoira. And Rava is a fascinating person. Rava was a very wealthy person. We know that he always argues with Abaye, but apparently they were best friends. They lived in different places, but they constantly communicated with each other because they were such good friends. They always argued with each other. They were such good friends. Rava came from from big wealth, Abaye not necessarily. And Rava becomes the head of Pumpadisa. Abaye is the head of Pumpadisa. Rava becomes head of Matsuda, another place, and they're constantly like in engagement with one another. And there's fascinating things about how Rava was so well respected even by the Goyim, and it's really amazing stuff. And so if you want to do yourselves a favor, go into to Sfaria, and I'm just trying to see where I found it. So can you see my Sfaria screen on the screen? So if you go into Sfaria, like here, let me just go into it. You'll see when it comes to Zion Ahmed Aleph. This part of it is here, where so all I did was there to. So I just clicked on this on Rava, and it gave there's a whole story about who he is, and then if you go into that, then it gives you a connection to this, and it's actually unbelievable. Because it just allows you to understand the person and the conversation just a little bit differently and a little bit better, I suppose. Okay. Having said that, by Rava asked a question. Heilach mana ve'kadesh ani lecha. Now look at this question. She says what? She says to God, Heilach mana, take this, ve'kadesh ani lecha. And through you taking this coin that I'm giving you, I will be Mekudeshes to you. So that's what Rashi says there. So the first you have to understand that obviously he has to say something because that's part of the process. So she gives him the money and he says, with this money that I'm giving you, so with the money that you're giving me, that's kiddushin. Mahu. What's the question? So I'm a Marzutra, Mishmei de Rav Papa. Marzutra says, Mishmei de Rav Papa, Mekudeshes. What's the basis of that? I'm asking the question. What's the basis of her kiddushin? All the way through, the Gemara has spoken about that the basis of the kiddushin has been that she gets a certain level of hanoah. Okay? So is the hanoah that she's going to get because he's accepting the gift from her, is that really hanoah? Is that enough of a hanoah for it to be mekudeshes? And according to the simple reading here, Amar Razut Mishmei Rav Papa, mekudeshes. So on that, say again.
Is this not the case of the person who's Adam Chashuv and you want to give him a gift?
Yeah, we're getting into Adam Chashuv. But first, let's understand what's going on here. she's given him money, right? And by virtue of the fact that she's giving him money, he is somehow she's being drawn into that transaction by the fact that she gives him the money, and he makes a statement. Okay, we'll get to the Adam Chashuv, why that works. But let's go here where we are at the moment. So on that, Amalei Rav Ashi, Lemar Zutra, remember Mar Zutra said in the name of Rav Papa, so Amalei Rav Ashi, Mar Zutra, Rav Ashi now says to Mar Zutra, Imkain, if you're going to say this, then what? Havalei, nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus, niknin im nechasim she'en lehem achrayus. If you're going to say this, then you've got a problem. Because why? Because there's two different types of nechasim, two different types of possessions that a person has. There are nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus and nechasim she'en lehem achrayus. Did you understand what the differences were in those when you were learning? Because that's a fundamental part that we need to try and understand. Okay? So let's understand. What does it mean, nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus and nechasim she'en lehem achrayus? Just look at Rashi. Rashi is going to give us, like Rashi always gives answers, but Rashi's answers are like, you got to like dig into them to really understand what he's saying. So look at this. So Rashi, sheyesh lehem achrayus, Adam hu kash lekarkot. A human being is connected to karka, dichsiv, because it says, visnachaltem oisam lareshes achuza. Okay. Did you look up the pasuk? I'm sure you did, because otherwise you have no clue what this Rashi is talking about. So just to help you out, to remind you, because this has been such an old, we haven't done this for such a long time. Let's just look. I'm assuming you can see my screen with this thing. I just want to show you where this Rashi is, where this pasuk is. So the pasuk is in Vayikra. It's in Vayikra Chaf, and it's talking about avadim. Says the pasuk, you can acquire. Look at this. You can acquire what? Avadim. Avadim are people, but you can acquire them. You can actually make real acquisitions of them. They become commodities. And they will be to you as an achuzah. Now, achuzah is property that stays with you. What else stays with you? You can give them to your children as a what? As lareshet achuzah. The other thing that's called achuzah is the land of Israel. It's talking about like you can create like this whole, what's the word? Not legacy, but this whole, like it's heirloom. Like these people are like heirlooms. They go just trying from one generation to the next generation. Say again?
A dynasty.
And in a way, but these are slaves. So they're being passed down from one generation to the next. That's why so you can do that to the Goyim, but you can't do that to Am Yisrael. Okay? And they can be an achuzah. On that Rashi is saying, if we go back to this Rashi says, Adam hu kash lekarkos. Adam is like karka, is like land. Why? Because it says because there's a connection between the achuzah of land and the achuzah of the slaves, and therefore you can see that man and slaves are very similar. That's the way Rashi wants to present the case. You understand that? So if we go back into that Gemara, the Gemara says that what? That if we're going to say that when he gives over when she gives him the money and she becomes acquired to him, so then you see that there are nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus. Nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus means that it's land that go with a certain level of responsibility. In other words, land that has that you can put a lien on land. You can put some type of what's the word? Like you can hold a person to a debt on the land through the land that they own. So if they don't pay back the land, then you can claim the debt. And if they sell that land, right, and have not paid that debt, you can actually claim back the land from the person they bought it from. Okay, that's the concept. So there we are seeing that, and that's a very kind of like high level of entrenched land, for want of a better word. So you can see there that the way Rashi wants to say is that people are like that in a way as well. We learn that from slaves, and therefore she, who is nechasim sheyesh lahem achrayus, right? Says the Gemara, can what? On niknes im nechasim she'en lahem achrayus, can be acquired through the medium of nechasim she'en lahem achrayus, which are a lesser level of possessions. That doesn't make sense, because what that's really saying is that if I sell you this glass, okay, then, and I'm just going to use land as the example. What the Gemara is wanting to imply is that if I give you this glass, I can also sell you the house that comes with where the glass is. But that's not the din. It's the other way around. Normally, you would sell nechasim she'ein lahem achrayus with nechasim sheyesh lahem achrayus. So that's why, like if you have a house, then you can sell it with the things inside it, and they kind of like follow on. Right? We see that like with mechiras chometz and things like that. Those things last on. So here the Gemara says. So Rav Ashi says to Mazutra, Im kain have le nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus, niknim nechasim she'ein lehem achrayus. It's the wrong way around. As Rashi says, Im nechasim she'ein lehem achrayus, shemoicher onoisen loy karka ois. He's giving he's selling, or he's giving the guy karka, umataltalin, and some type of movable properties. V'zeh moshech hamataltalin. And you're saying the guy's going to pull the metaltalin, and you acquire the glass by you acquire the house by pulling the glass. It just doesn't make any sense, because she once we're saying that she is like this. So how does that work? Because she's giving him money, and therefore by virtue of the fact that she's giving him the money, she's also following along onto him. That's the way Rav Ashi understands that case. Have you got that, guys?
So she is the nechasim.
She's the nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus. Yeah.
Right, so just as if I buy a house, I get everything in the house. I'm buying the woman with the money she's giving me.
Yes, but it's the wrong way around, because you can buy the house, everything in the house. But I can't say to you, well, you're buying the glass, you buy the house as well. Through buying the glass, you buy the house. That's bizarre. The one's much more chashuv than the other. And here it's saying that by virtue of the fact that she's getting him to give the money, she's also following along on that. Okay? Va'anan, and we learned ibchat snan. We learned a Mishnah that's completely opposite. Now, where's this Mishnah? This Mishnah is in our Gemara. It's a Gemara in kiddushin, Chaf Vav, Amud Beis. So let's just get that. So here the Gemara says, and this is where we got to, I'll put it at the end. Here the Mishnah says the following. I think I put it in. Should I do it? Give me 1 second. Yep, there we go. Here's the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, it's Chav Vav Amud Aleph. Sorry, Amud Aleph. Nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus. There's nechasim that yesh lehem achrayus. Niknin bekesef b'shtar v'chazaka. You can acquire, it's interesting, right? You can see there's already a parallel between the woman and the nechasim. Nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus, niknin bekesef b'shtar v'chazaka. She'ein lehem achrayus, ein niknin, they don't get acquired ela b'meshicha. And nechasim she'ein lehem achrayus, nichnin im nechasim sheyesh lehem achrayus. And the ones that don't have achrayus can be acquired with the ones that do have achrayus. Because that same document there can be a follow-on. Okay, so you've got movable property on agav on the back of immovable property. That's the way it normally works. Okay, but you don't have the other way around. So that's why Rav Ashi is very upset with Mar Zutra's presentation of this case, because it doesn't work. It's not the normative way that these things work. If that's the case, let's see what the Gemara says. So the Gemara says, "Va'anan ibchatznan." We learn the opposite. And quite a Mishnah. So Amalei, so he says, hold on a second. Okay. Amalei misvart the Amra le agav. says, hold on a second. Are you going to tell me? Like, the translations were cute, but like, really? Do you think that she said, like, you're telling me the case where that, because the way we understood it, the way we understood Mar Zutra saying it was that he was saying agav, because that's how we always understood these different things being. She said, but did she say agav? Right? She didn't say agav. She didn't say agav at all. What did she say? Let's look at her words. Let's look carefully exactly what she said. She said, Helach mana ve'ekadesh ani lecha. Take the money and I'll be sanctified to you. Finished. Not agav the money. So what is the kiddushin? What is the ma'aseh kiddushin? And what is the hanoah that she's getting? And therefore the Gemara has to say, Hacha ba'adam chashuv askinen. Has to be an adam chashuv. Because it's not agav. The bahahi hanoah the kamakabel matonimina gamra makanya lei nafsha. Because that's a simple case. Simple. She got hanoah. We already established, remember last week we established that hanoah has got a value, and hanoah has got a value, and all it is that he's an adam chashuv, and since he's an adam chashuv, the fact that he's makabel a matana from her, gamra or makanya le nafsha, that is enough for her to do it. Oh, but look
we said that the hanoah is chashuv kesef.
Yes, exactly. So what's the hanoah that she gets? So look at this here. The Rashi above is speaking about you can't just acquire karka agav thing. You got to tell to me nikne agav the karka. Okay, but yeah, what's adam chashuv? What does it mean? Listen, this is like it's an unbelievable idea. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to speak about this, but I think I'd like to because I think it's important just to get a bit of context here. And adam chashuv is what? She'eino ragil lekabel matanot. It's an unbelievable concept, by the way. An adam chashuv is a person who doesn't normally accept gifts. Now, we live in a country, and right, what do you do to important, and in the whole world actually, what do you do to important people? You give them gifts, right? Like you recognize that this guy is, I don't know, he gave a lot of money, you give him a talus. You know, this guy does this, you give him this. You know, this guy embezzled 550 million rand from the nation of South Africa, so you'll give him a kandla. You know, like there's a lot of stuff going on. Like you can always get people get gifts, right? And Adam Choshev, the Gemara wants to say, and Adam Choshev is a person who doesn't mekabel matanot. Okay, now I want to play with you a little bit in this, because in the benching, what do we say? We say, I just want to get it up because then we can play it properly. Let me get a sitter. Give me 1 sec. Yeah. So in the benching, when we bench, we use this terminology, and the terminology, like it just struck me as I was going through this again today, having not gone through it for a while. We say the following in Rachem na Hashem Elokeinu al Yisrael Amecha. Right, this is like the whole we're coming out of Tisha B'av. So I'm still in Tisha B'av mode, you can see, but Yokes are done. Right, you're already in Geula. I'm still in Galus Shtickle. Right, Malchus Beitam Mishichech Valabayis Hakadosh Hakadosh Kashim Chalav Elokeinu Avinu Ra'enu Zunenu Parnaseinu V'Chal Keleinu. We ask Hakadosh Baruch Hu to mefarnes us, to be machal kel us, v'harvichenu, and to give us harvacha, like profit. Please, na is the word, the lotion of na is the lotion that we learn of davening from this parsha, from Eschanan, right? That's what Ebra na, where Moshe Rabbeinu asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu to, and Hashem says to him, stop, it's enough. Can't speak so much. So he says, V'nal tatzvichenu, Hashem Elokeinu, lo lidei matnat basar v'dam. We ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu not to make us need matnat basar v'dam v'lo yidei halvatam. I mean, not for us to need the halva and you learn from them. But rather, we should be able to find the space that we can receive everything from the Ribono Shel Olam. Okay, now that's unbelievable. Because actually what we are, if we're going to now extrapolate the two, and I know there's a drosh and we're giving a Gemara share, but I just think it's like something that we've got to think about, right? If we're going to extrapolate, Sha'in Ragil Kabel Matanot, what we're really asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu is for us to become what? Adam Chashuv. We're asking for us to be put into position by the Ribono Shel Olam where we have created that space that we are perceived as being people that there is value in giving them a gift because they don't normally take them. And so there's something special about me. If I give you a gift, Leo Ronthal, and you're an Adam Choshev, and you're prepared to accept it, there's something special about the fact that I'm giving you that gift. And that's what I'm asking for. Just thought that was something that I think we needed to just to bring in mind. Okay.
So is it not tzedakah
then? Well, there's two types of matanas. That's what halva. I mean, a matana, obviously, in that case, it means tzedakah. But, an Adam Choshev, what does it mean that he's so Choshev?
I was saying, well, then you can think of like a donor that we put up a plaque in the entrance to the shul, or we, I know, like, for example, over Hinder shul, the whole shul is donated. So every part of the shul is got people's names on it.
Yes.
Is that Adam Choshev?
So that's interesting. According to this, is that a matana for that person?
So it even says there, it says, the nechasim and the people, and it says, Alidei Matanat, and it says a person's name, Dafka.
No,
it says
that's them
Matanat.
giving a matana. That's them giving. I'm saying when we we acknowledge that. Is that a matana from us? Is it a real Adam Choshev, somebody who wants that? Or they're happy not to have it? They just, I don't know, just go weiter. Here's the money, go do what you have to do and move on. I don't know. I'm not in any way judging. I'm just trying to put that into a perspective for me to understand what I'm davening for, because I always find it hard. Okay. You happy? Can we move on? Let's go on. A few more minutes. Let's go. Itmar Nami. So now, Itmar Nami. What's Itmar Nami mean? Itmar Nami. It was also said, Mishmei Derova. Now, does this mean that these two are going to be connected generally? Because Itmar Nami generally introduces a case which is similar to the case above. What does it say? Okay. That this concept applies to Dinei Mamonos. What applies to Inyan Mamoina? Rashi says, Hanach Shmaita Derova. This concept that Rova brought, the Yalfina kiddushin midin arev, that we learned kiddushin midin arev. It's not talking about this concept that we just learned of the Adam Chashuv. It's going back to the other two. What did we learn? We learned that you can do kiddushin midin arev. We did it in Knani. All right. And what did we say? How did that work? Midin arev, where even though the person himself doesn't put money in, he's still obligated in the matter. And midin evet knani is even though the person doesn't put his own money in, he still finds he's able to acquire himself. Okay, remember that? That's the situation of those two. So he says those things we can learn. Kain le'inyan mamoina. We learn this off of the concept of in monetary matters. Macholo sadeh, a guy sells another guy a sadeh, a field. Va'amalo, and he says to him, Teina kesef leploni. Okay, I want to give you, I'm selling you my field, but I want you, don't give me the geld, give the geld to somebody else. V'sadi machurelach, and my field is sold to you. So that's crazy. There's no exchange. I haven't given you the money for your field. If I haven't given you the money for your field, so then how can the whole exchange happen? It can happen. Why? We learned that, but kana midin arev. Because the din arev, even though a person doesn't receive the money, he's still obligated in the matter. Okay, so to midin arev. Yeah, take money, and then your field must be sold to some other chap. He acquires it. Why midin eved? Give the money to that guy, and then my field will be sold to him. And then that midin shneim. So Rava says that this issue that we spoke about also applies to the halachas of mamonos. There's not only an issue of women. It's not only of betrothal. So if that's the case, so why do I need both? Why do I need to learn the din mammon and the din kiddushin? The ashmu in kiddushin, because if I'd only learned the issue of kiddushin, mishum, and this is your case, yeah, mishum daha itasa nechela b'chol dehu kederesh lakish, because a woman is nechela. Rashi says, "Lios niknis b'chol dehu b'kinyan kol dehu." She's able to be acquired with even the smallest amount. Even with the toivas hanoah, right? A woman is prepared to sell her ishus, exclusivity. It's difficult to. Ishus is a term you can't really describe. You can't explain. It doesn't exist in things. But she's happy to do it with what? B'chol dehu, k'deresh lakish. As Reish Lakish says, look what Reish Lakish says. And it's not Reish Lakish, there's like a lot of conversation about exactly what this means. K'deresh lakish, the Amar Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says, tav lemeitav tandu lemeitav armelu, which we normally translate that a woman would rather take the meitav tan do milameitav armelu, that she'd rather live as two milameitav armelu than live as an almana. Now that we normally translate as being she'd rather be married in a way like an unhappy marriage than live singly. Not everybody agrees with that's what it means, by the way, because it's a very hectic statement. That it goes down to the very essence, like of, in a way, like a patriarchal, misogynistic way of speaking. Like a woman would rather be married unhappily than to be single. So Rashi,
do you have an example of a different understanding of that? Because we also, I remember discussing that we didn't love that.
Right. So look at Tandu. Look at Rashi says. Begufim shnayim baal ve'ishtoi ve'afilu eino la ela letzavos ba'ama. What does that mean? Doesn't mean that she's unhappily married. Doesn't mean that she's completely happily married. Like she's married. She's married to a person. It's fine. It's okay. But maybe there's no great romance. Maybe there's no great. They're not the best of friends, but they're okay.
I guess I can.
She's unhappy. It just means that she's happy to be married because she wants to have company.
Yeah, I guess I can get behind that. In a case where it's obviously unhappy, then you would.
That's very hard.
I think most would agree that she would rather. Yeah, no one would rather be in that than alone.
No one wants to be unhappy. What you're going to be? I'd rather be unhappy and have somebody who's I'm happy with than be happy on my own. It's like a crazy concept.
There's two things I think. I think number one is that there are cases where particularly like older women, have said that it's very hard for them to be not married when their friends are married. But Dafka in this case, I think that it's, from what I understood originally, is that, and we discussed this, I think, that it just helps us understand how it can be Mekudeshes. It's one of the only possible explanations when there's no actual kiddushin taking place.
Yes. Why? Because she wants to be married.
Right. It's the only way you can explain that how we can say Mekudeshes when there's no Hana taking place. I mean, no kiddushin. I think it's, in this case, it's a practical example more than an esoteric meaning.
I think that's a good way of explaining it. That's a good way.
On this Amud in particular, not to take it off the page.
Yeah. Not conceptually necessarily. Yeah. When we'll get to another place, because Reish Lakish, this point of Reish Lakish, I saw one of the Mefarshim. I think he's mentioned 4 times in the Masechta. And each of them are in separate and different contexts, but conceptually, this is what it's about. It's about that she's prepared to give her issues for a small amount in order to be married.
Because we discussed this on Shavuos, and we said that there's no indication that we said that he has to be aware of what's going on, but there's no indication that it's about to happen.
What do you mean?
Because I think we said earlier that we the only reason that it works is when there's no kiddushin taking place, but he didn't know about it. Like, what indicates that she wants to do this?
By virtue of the fact that she says it. He has to. If you remember, Rashi said.
Oh, sorry, you froze for a bit.
Oh, sorry. Can you see me now? Am I back?
Yeah, you just say explanation again.
Okay, so no, I hadn't said anything. Because Rashi said, where's this Rashi? Rashi says here that Mekudeshe, sorry, before here, V'hu kiblu v'amar la hiskat sheli b'kach. He has to say it. It doesn't just happen. This Adam Choshev, this chap, right? He knows that what's happened here is very, very important to her, that she's accepted the money. Therefore, the kiddushin holds because he says something to her, and as we saw that the Rambam said that in the same way as well. If you look in the Shulchan Aruch says the same thing. I just want to get there. See how much I put you. I'm going to touch it. We'll do it next week, please God. Yeah. Not nahiva amra loy. She gives the dinner, and she says to him, "Helach dinner, this is Shulchan Aruch, okay, matana. Take this dinner as a matana." Can you see this? This is like based straight out of our Gemara. We didn't say take it as a matana. She says take the dinner. The Shulchan Aruch is extrapolating out of our understanding of the Gemara. And he takes it. V'amar la re'at mekudesh zi b'hanoah zu shekibalti mimcha matana im adam chashav hu harei zu mekudeshes. If he's adam chashav, then it's harei zu mekudeshes. Shehanoah sheyeshta b'yoysa ne'eneh mimena, because the hanoah that she gives with the fact that he gets hanoah from her, v'hanoah zu ikinasa atzma loy. Through that hanoah, she's makneh herself to him. But tzarich chakir chacham mi nikra adam she'eno chashiv lehatera below get. How's that, right? What's an adam chashiv? Right? How do you need someone to come out? You need a chakiris chacham to decide who's not considered to be an adam chashiv. How do you know who's an adam chashiv or not? Okay, that's a different discussion. That's a whole discussion in I saw in the Choshen Mishpat, there's a whole discussion on Adam Choshen. Like that's an important part. But that's what I wanted to get to, is this understanding of that there has to be process happening, the normal process of her getting some hanoah and he's saying his kachilila, his harayat mukudeshes. Okay, does that
and therefore if you don't use this explanation, then this wouldn't work as a din kiddushin.
Yes.
And seemingly this Tavla Meitav only works with an Adam Chashuv.
No, because it'll work on all the other situations of Hanoah. Because the reason why the Gemara wants to say here, the reason why that it mentions specifically you can remember it says v'chein l'mamoina v'chein l'kiddushin. To both cases. Why does it have to mention kiddushin? To show that it works. Because why? Because a woman, she's prepared to give to get into the state of marriage, even with the smallest amount, because it's an important thing for her. Okay, which you might not have thought would be allowed, because she's asked now to chol adam, but she's happy to do it because she wants to get into the state of marriage. So in that case, when it comes to money with mamoina, say no. It's not going to. We can't do that. Why? You wouldn't think that you'd be prepared to acquire, to allow acquisitions to happen with such a small amount. And if you are going to only learn about mammon, monetary matters, mishum is yahiv lemechila, right? Like you can be moichel on the, as Rashi says, you can be moichel. Adam rashai lemachle. Person can give out. You can say I'm selling it for 50 rand, but you can have it for nothing. Right? There's no reason to bring you don't have to transfer ownership via a price. The price could be zero. Okay. Aval kiddushin, but kiddushin aim maloi. But kiddushin, you can't say that a woman would be able just to give herself for nothing. There has to be some type of You would say that she wouldn't give herself enough. There has to be some real amount of money. Therefore, we need both of them, because when we have both of them, what comes out is that we see that both there's a value in her becoming married, and there's a value in me passing ownership to another person, even with not much money. But you can't learn the one from the other. Therefore, you need both of them in order to learn out these dinim. Okay.
So Tavla Meitav needs money to be considered kiddushin. There has to be some form of ana with Tavla Meitav.
Yes, but the amount of money only has to be small because of Tavla Meitav. But you can't use Tavla Meitav in a normal business transaction.
Right.
Because that's still a bit of money. You have to. There's got in a normal business transaction, either it's nothing or it's a little whatever. You can determine whatever price you want. But you might say, but you wouldn't do that in marriage, because marriage is such important. No, Tavla Meitav. So it goes round and round and round in a circle. And therefore, you see that you need both of them, because without both of them, you wouldn't be able to learn the one out from the other. Okay. Happy, guys? Now, there's a lot more there. But I think let's stop there for now, because I think we've done quite a bit. Unless you want to go, it's just, then it goes technically into each thing. Maybe let's write that for next week. We can go a little bit more about this concept. I really wanted to go really into this concept of the of these nechasim. Like, what does it mean? Nechasim sheyesh lach rais, nechasim she'ein lach rais, and let's go into that a little bit deeper next week. Okay. Happy. Lekker. Lekker, guys. God bless. Have a good night. And please, God, we'll see you properly soon.
Please, God.
Amen.
And atzlacha for Jay for tomorrow. I know she's starting back at the school. And please, God, please send her regards.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Sober, good luck.
Thanks, Rob.
David, bro.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks.
God bless, guys.